All right, everybody, what is happening out there in Worlds Collide land? My name is the Schwans27, and we've got a impromptu pickup race for everybody on the docket tonight. We've got four wonderful runners here that encompass many different levels of skill. We have Velvet, one of our newer runners in the Tonic division. LQ Flurry, a veteran of the game in one of our Elixir divisions. We have Lanxian, also someone who's been around for a few Ultros League seasons. And JS8271986, one of our mentors in the Moogle tournament. So we'll see how our runners get on tonight. We're doing Ultros League Season 6. So you know what that means. We are going to be looking for 22 checks for Skip. So that's why we've got the fancy numbers on there next to the imp. And we will see what our runners start off with and what they're going to get going. If you have any questions in the chat, be sure to drop them there and hit us up, as we're going to get our runners started in just a few seconds here. So all right, so we're looking to see what our runners get started with off the bat here. We are going to start off with three, yes, count them, three characters. So we'll see exactly which one of the three are, and that'll sort of dictate where we're going to be going in the game. We need 6 characters, 9 espers to unlock Final Kefka, and we are off and running, folks. Sabin, Shadow, and Celeste. Celeste with Dan, Shadow with Sword Tech, and Sketch on that Sabin. So we are going to have a few free check options available to us. The South Figaro prisoner spot is one of them for Celeste. We're checking our dances there. First one, not so great. Second one, yeah, the Water Rondo with Landslide coming in first place there. Lanxian already knows, and Velvet already picking up the Palador Esper at Gal Manor. JS is going to go there as well. So that is going to be the first of the free checks for our runners here. So I expect our runners to lean heavily on that Water Rondo slide for Celeste to get us started. We do have Sword Tech with Shadow, so we'll probably be looking for some Atlas Armlets or some Hero Rings, or hopefully we'll get Cyan later on somewhere in the seed so that we can unlock the entire Sword Tech tree. Geez, try saying that 5 times fast. For our Sword Tech user there. And Sabin with Sketch is going to have to figure out something for himself to do, because Sketch is not all that great. It's good if we find a Katana Soul monster in a box in order to eliminate it very quickly, but other than that, not much utility in Sketch until you get to Final Kefka. You can actually say it multiple times there, Nochibaru. You can actually Sketch Ultima on Final Kefka or Havoc Wing, one of the two. Velvet in World of Balance Narsh. Lanxian over here in the Returner's hideout. Flurry, however, is going to head down into the South Figaro basement and is going to show us what that Celeste check is down there. I think that was an Ice Rod or Ice Shield. Wasn't sure. Didn't quite catch it out of the corner of my eye here, as we have yet another Magicite down there in the South Figaro basement. So our runners are going to be stocking up on shiny stones before they go and do anything. The interesting thing about this set of 3 characters is, to start off our checks, we do have a few that feature some grind fights in it. We have Imperial Camp from Sabin. We have the Opera House Disruption from Celeste, and we have that ever so infamous Floating Continent from Shadow. So we'll see which one of those options our runners take, and we'll see how much free progression they want to take, because there are a couple of free checks: South Figaro Basement, Gal Manor, and the Collapsing House, of which we can get 2 monster in a boxes there in the Collapsing House. So we'll see if any of our runners choose that as an option. First 5 to 10 minutes or so of a Worlds Collide seed is a bit of looting and shopping. I haven't seen a lot of stuff jump out at me other than that aforementioned Ice Rod or Shield. If it's an ice shield, then we're going to want that. Lanxian, however, sees something that he likes in the store, and those are earrings. So definitely want that for our Celeste, because as we mentioned, her #1 slot for one of her dances is Landslide, and that is basically what you're looking for in a dance. It is a better version of Flare. It is non-elemental, it ignores defense, and it doesn't have the super duper long animation that Flare does. So we like to see that. A lot of our runners here heading over into Returner's Hideout. There's a Hawkeye in a chest. So Hawkeye is one of those weapons you can use in the back row. It's sort of like Sniper's baby brother, and we'll see if any of our users can equip that. Maybe we could use it for, I don't know, the first little part of the seed here as we get going. I don't know about its endgame viability, because it doesn't really have a lot of battle power. Minerva and Behemoth suits there in the shop in World of Balance South Figaro. We know that Celeste can naturally equip that Minerva, so maybe we'll save up for that. We'll see if we can loot the basement to get some nice things here. But so far, I'm not really seeing anything that jumps out at me and says, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I picked this up. UltrosLeague.com is the website where you could check out the standings. I did mention that we have these runners here spread across various different divisions. Let's see if I could pull them up here. So there's Velvet, and he is currently in Tonic A, ranking in 5th place. Then we also have Flurry, 14. And he is in Potion A, in 2nd place, so hopefully he's looking to move up in Potion. And it was an Ice Shield, I just caught it out of the corner of my eye over there on Flurry's screen. So that'll be nice to have one of our characters learn Ice 2 really fast. Lanxian is also in Potion A, so those two are actually fighting for the top slot in there, because Lanxian is in 2nd place to the 1st place that, he's in 3rd place, and Flurry is in 2nd place. And lastly, let's see what JS is, let's see where he's at. So Numbers, or JS, is in Tonic Division C. So we've got a lot of different people from all over across the gamut here. And as I mentioned, that Potion Division, Potion A, as it were, has Flurry in 2nd place and Lanxian in 3rd place, as I believe Flurry just picked up his 2nd Esper there. JS about to get his in the South Figaro basement, and we'll see what our runners try and do. As I mentioned, we've got Imperial Camp, we've got Floating Continent, we've got the Opera House Disruption, all options for going to get some grind fights before we actually get off and running. Velvet, however, equipping his party when going to loot through the South Figaro basement here, so this might be a grind fight or 2 for him. We do give our runners 3 Moogle Charms, so that this way they get 1 per party in Kefka's Tower. You could keep it on so that you don't get the random encounters, or you could take them off. And here's a pretty nice random encounter to start us off with a lot of XP, and that was a 31,000 GP to Zen Thief. I think that said it was a shiny stone, so we'll see if Lanxian goes ahead and sells some stuff off to go get it. He's got enough money for it now, so we'll see exactly what it is. Velvet, really nice job here using the sketch ability. Remember I sort of poo-pooed sketch? Well, if you sketch the Behemoth, you could get the Meteor spell, so that's a really nice heads-up play there from him. Good game knowledge to know that, yes, sketch is actually useful, Schwantz. So, put me in my place there. Fire Rods for sale in World of Balance to Zen. So Lanxian, unfortunately, sold some stuff to pick up that 3rd Esper here, but I think we'll probably have enough to grab at least 1 of those Fire Rods to get himself out of trouble there. We did change the amount of GP that the Fire Rods and all the other rods are. They are 4 times as much as they are in the vanilla game. They're quite broken in the vanilla game because they can be had for so cheap, and they cast a maximum damage, unblockable version of the tier 2 elemental spell of the rod that you're cracking. Unfortunately that is Sabin hitting the deck. And of course, now Celeste decides, hey, I'm going to actually use Landslide, the thing that you wanted me to do all along. Thanks, Celeste. Thanks a lot for that. However, you see the beefy XP from that fight. About 3.5k plus 30 MP. Level 10 for his characters already that survived that fight. Meanwhile, Lanxian grabbing a lightsaber out of the pot there in Albrook. He's over in the World of Ruin, Albrook. You can loot one more chest in the World of Ruin than you can in the World of Balance. And Flurry looks like he's had enough. He's going to head over into Imperial Camp here. He's decided that he wants to get himself some levels. And we see Velvet taking the Moogle Charm back off again, hoping to get that grind fight one more time to catapult his levels way, way up in the early game. However, this is not that grind fight, unfortunately. And Sabin is... Wow, I'm surprised he survived that here. G.I. Natic in the house, welcome. Good to see you. Hopefully everybody is doing well on this Saturday evening, as it were, here where I am in New York. I got to see the Aurora Borealis last night. It was pretty neat. So tonight, we're going to show you some worlds collide instead of some lights collide, stars collide. Magnetic fields collide is actually probably more appropriate for that one. Alright, well, Flurry unfortunately gets a dragon, but no, not the legendary kind, the regular dragon, for that first encounter. We do see a ghost sprite here at Imperial Camp, so that means that this will not be a character. Uncle Lucifer says particles collide. Live from New York, it's Saturday night. Thank you, Yakko. It's technically Sunday morning, because now we are after midnight here. Oh, 9,500 GP for the Zen Thief in the World of Ruin. You can get a severe discount there for going into the World of Ruin for that Esper. And there is a ghost holding up the house. So Ghost in the house and Ghost in the camp. We'll see if either one of these is an Esper for our runners here. Alright, where's Velvet going? He's heading back into Returner's hideout to do some more looting. Meanwhile, Lanxian following Flurry into our Imperial camp here. Getting through these Ralphs. I always thought that Ralphs were called Ralphs because they kind of sound like the sound of a dog barking. Like, Ralph, Ralph, Ralph. I will stop doing my canine impressions now. You're welcome, chat. Oh, Returner guy, get out of my way, please. Langston doing a sketch on the dragon. Unfortunately, the dragon does revenge, which basically does the amount of damage that you did to it back to whoever cast it for you. Yeah, Glue's got that dog in him, so I can't pretend that I've got that dog in me. But you know what else? JS now has a Phoenix in their pocket there, and we'll probably pick up this fourth Esper here at Tizen in the World of Ruin. Remember, it was $9,500. I don't know if he's got enough. He could sell that and the safety bit and have enough. So he'll be at 4 Espers already. And he's the only one that did this in the World of Ruin. 2 of our other runners bought it in the World of Balance. Alright. Velvet landing outside of the princesses in another castle. We do not have Cyan yet. I know he's hoping for Cyan because we do have Sword Tech on Shadow. And look at those levels already from just getting that one grind fight. Lanxian, however, struggle bussing with the dragon. And speaking of struggle bussing, that is a dinosaur on Flurry's screen. Oh, goodness. It's a disaster. Just run away from this fight. Yeah, there you go. It's a Ragnarok sword. That is really nice to see. Unfortunately, because Sabin and Shadow are still useless in this seed, neither one of them can actually equip that. Yeah, so regarding pronunciations of people and places in this game, since there wasn't a, voice acting with scripts and stuff, we sort of rolled our own pronunciations back in the day when this game first came out. And I know that a lot of people say that it's cayenne instead of cyan. I would have thought it would be like Ciane because it rhymes with Elaine and Owain, so I thought they all rhymed. But either way, it's cyan to me. And just like it's Sabin instead of Sabin, or Celeste instead of Celes. But we could argue about pronunciation all day here. If you don't like my pronunciation, then I'll be sure to offend everybody with pronouncing everything wrong at least once. Meanwhile, speaking of everything wrong, we have Doom off of the waterfall here for Flurry. He's hoping that we get a lot of landslides in this fight. Thankfully, we do have Sword Tech 1 to get past the image status in the second phase of this fight, and Sabin is going to be our healer, or Sabin, however you want to do it. Alright, so we got Ralph's on the left-hand side of the screen. JS, meanwhile, in Famasa. There are 5 or 6 chests here in Famasa, and the shops are all pretty compact. So this is a pretty good place to go if you don't necessarily have your builds for your characters yet. And as I mentioned, we do have a decent Celeste with that ice shield teaching us ice too, and landslide on one of her original dances, but we don't really have a thing for our other 2 characters to do yet. Shadow will use Sword Tech 1 for a while, and Sabin is just gonna stand there and flex, I guess. Oof. Sabin hitting the deck with that Ice 2 spell from Doom. And we got some doggo defense, some dog-on-dog action. Somebody better show that one to Drinks Glue later on. Interceptor taking out the Ralph there. Alright. Fight is a bit of a struggle here for Flurry. Not surprising, given that this is a statue boss and we're very early on in the seed. Alright, Lanxian finally getting up to the dinosaurs here at the end of the Imperial Camp. These fights were not so much fun here in Imperial Camp. So I think that's going to be a problem for our runners if they don't adjust on the fly, because they've had to run from a couple of these encounters here in Imperial Camp. So they may not have gotten as many levels as they think they would have wanted to from this particular check. I know Velvet at least had some grind fights prior to Imperial Camp, but Lanxian just gets sneezed away from that dragon there, so not even going to get a chance to do that particular fight either. So we'll see how our runners adjust on the fly for here. We can all at least agree on Edgar. It's Gerard to you, buddy. Alright, Imperial Camp going out for Lanxian. Imperial Camp coming in for JS. We'll see where Lanxian decides to go here, because like I said, only level 9 on his characters, and he is at 3 characters and 3 espers. So how Worlds Collide works is that scaling is not based on the location that you're doing your fights in. It's based on how much progression you have, how many characters, how many espers, and how many dragons you've killed times 2. So his party right now is dealing with 6 pieces of progression times 2, so his enemies are all level 12. So he's actually underneath where the level scaling is for his enemies. So he's gonna try and, take some more grind fights here to get some more levels up in order to, outlast this, reskin, or palette swap, if you will, of Funbaba. Meanwhile, Flurry finally getting through the Doom fight there. Nicely done for him. Let's see what we find at the bottom of the waterfall here. It's not going to be TLC because they don't go chasing waterfalls. Oh no. Confused and stone is one of the worst things you can get. Yeah, just get the heck out of here, Velvet. Just cut and run. You just saw the warp stones. Or the... okay. Just imp violence. Oh, and speaking of Gerard, there he is at the bottom of the waterfall for Flurry. That's Edgar. So he will open up a couple of checks, the Figaro throne here, as well as the double duo of the Tentacles Engine Room and the Ancient Castle. That is Edgar with lore. So one of the interesting things about Ultros League Season 6 is that we had a pretty decent buff to the lore command. You now start with between 6 and 12 lores, I believe, up from 3 to 5. So it allows you to sort of get a better chance at getting one of those actual useful lores. And after all that, the Brachiosaur sneezes Velvet away. That's why it's not worth taking that fight on the Brachiosaur unless you could actually kill it right away. Lanxian in Phantom Train, I completely missed what that reward is. Thankfully, I can just go pull up his stream and look at his tracker and see what it is. After the ad goes away. Great. Natick says it's Gao. Yes, my favorite character, Gao. All right. Did he pick it up? I don't think he picked it up. So we're going to decrement that here. As Velvet is also heading to the Phantom Train, probably thinking along the same lines that we were talking about before. I didn't get really enough XP from these fights here. I need to go and do some more fights. Okay, so it's Zone Seek. It's an Esper there in the Phantom Train. Meanwhile, Flurry picking up that Zen Thief Esper, so that's another one for him. Oh, we were still talking about pronunciations for Gao. Yes. Gaw? Would that be the other one? I think there was a podcast I listened to on YouTube. It was like a several-part podcast, and one of the hosts pronounced it Gaw, and I just was like, no. I refuse to believe that that's what the Woolsey translation was going for there. Like ooh-ow, Gao, not ooh-aw, gaw. Right? I like rhyming things. It makes more sense in my head. Flurry, meanwhile, not taking the monster in the boxes here in the collapsing house. So if you don't look in them, you can't actually get back into the collapsing house after you complete this check. So he will be forfeiting those 2 monster in the boxes. We haven't yet found Fixed Ice or the Valiant Knife, but I know Lanxian found an Atma weapon in Albrook, so they might want to take the monster in a box, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing here in the Phantom Train. Couple of Mario hats. Yeah, so maybe this is a save and then peek the monster in a box, because if I had an Atma weapon, I'd be looking for an offering. Meanwhile, Flurry getting through the collapsing house to get his 4th Esper there. And Shiva's got magic power +1, so that'll be really nice if we decide to... we'll keep that on our magic user all game. It looks like Flurry has shifted the Ragnarok over to Edgar. I didn't quite get to see what was on Edgar's lore list, so I don't know if it was something good or something bad. And the boss at the end of the Phantom Train, MC Hammerpants here, Daddy Luma, everybody's favorite goose-fisted boss. Alright, so where's Flurry going? Is this a Mount Colts play? That's exactly what it looks like. So Mount Colts is probably Sabin's least popular check of the 4 that he has, or 5 that he has. Maybe Phantom Train is tied with it, but at least with Phantom Train, you can get some grind fights and you can peek what's in the front of the train before you go through it. With Mount Colts, it's actually not that long of a check, but it's just longer than his other ones. And I think there's a lot of vanilla bias here where you spent a lot of time on Mount Colts in the vanilla game with all these forced encounters, so... Velvet not checking the monster in a box here on Phantom Train. Meanwhile, Lanxian getting through the Dataluma fight. Yeah, I don't mind Mount Cult as much as, you know, some other people certainly do. I mean, the way that I route things, I tend to leave my peekable checks towards the end when I have either my characters or my espers. But that also is not necessarily the best plan either, because then you miss out on some of the faster checks. Alright, it is the Three Stooges here, oof, at Mount Cult. And at this low level, it's not great. However, we do, thankfully, have both Ice 2 learned, and we have a Hawkeye, which will do 3 times the damage, potentially, to any of these Stooges, because they are all flying monsters. Alright, Lanxian getting his Doom fight. Unfortunately, Doom will absorb that bio spell that he's learned, so we're gonna have yet another useless Sabin in this fight. 86 damage, not exactly what we're looking for here. Over to the World of Ruin for JS, and we're getting a Coliseum dip. Excuse me. So with that Ragnarok in hand, we have sort of a Coliseum build with Celeste. We just hope that she doesn't pick Dance, and let's see if there's anything decent in here. A ribbon, eh. Let's see. Nothing. Nothing at all. Might want to take a flyer on one of those question mark ones, but I think part of the problem is that, you know, if you're going to do the Coliseum, you probably don't want to sell a bunch of stuff before you go ahead and do it, right? Because that's essentially what happened was, we needed money for that Tizen Thief, so we sold a bunch of stuff in order to buy it. Alright. Opera House Disruption for JS here. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to say, well, I didn't get very many levels from Imperial Camp. Here's how I'm going to get my levels now. As Flurry has one of the Three Stooges down, but the Stooges are fighting back. Taking out Shadow. Got dueling Doom fights on the left-hand side of the screen here. Oh, Yakko, don't you put that negativity here in this chat. Level magic's incoming. That's certainly what we don't want to see from the rats up here in the rafters. Oh, ninjas. Okay. Well, if we can get through this fight, it'll be pretty good. And they're actually a halfway decent sketch, believe it or not. So most of the time when you use sketch, if you know your rages, you basically know your sketches. Except the thing with sketches, sometimes it'll do one of their other attacks that isn't the rage. So ninjas are water edges, which is a pretty decent AoE. And we'll probably get through this here. Meanwhile, Lanxian is done with Doom, and we'll get his Edgar at the bottom of Barren Falls. Meanwhile, the Stooges have been dispatched up at Mount Cult. Let's see what we get as the reward. Oh, it's juicy. It is Calmness Protection for Flurry there. With Fenrir. Alright, chat. Well, would you do Mount Cult if you knew it was going to be Fenrir? That's the question. Obviously, Flurry didn't, but... I'd be very happy to pull that one out, because I know that some runners tend to not go to Mount Cults at all. So we got Quasar and Grand Train there for Edgar's lore. So perhaps we may shift Edgar over to a Magic Caster, especially with that Magic Power +1 Esper on Shiva. Yep, that's exactly what Lanxian is looking to do here. Flurry pulling out the Atma weapon in a pot that we saw before from Albrook. Hey, we got a Tirado summon here. Not very often you see one of those. Alright, so Lanxian is going to Mount Cult, so Physics Shebang coming in with the Nostradamus there in the chat. He said that Lanxian will go. He likes the Sabin checks, and there it is. Sometimes you have to know your opponents. You have to know your runners. And we got some Palador summoning here coming out from Velvet. He's throwing the kitchen sink at Doom just to get this fight over with. Alright, so JS, meanwhile, in the Opera House disruption, so we'll see what the boss is here down on the dance floor. Alright, well maybe not the dance floor, they're doing singing and not dancing, but you catch my drift. And this potentially will be a check that none of our other runners go to either, because it's a rather lengthy one. Oh no, and it's Chatternook. Not the boss you want to see here after all that hard work of doing that Charlie work, if you will. If anybody's an Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan, clearing out the rats from the rafters. Velvet, meanwhile, is going to grab his Edgar at the bottom of Barren Falls. Yeah, this fight is just going to stink here for JS. I don't... Oh, he does have a Minerva... Yeah, maybe he did buy that Minerva, and that's why he's got no... That's why he's got no money and no weapons. So having that Minerva on will definitely help. So he will get through this fight at some point. It's just, how long is it going to take? That's part of the problem here. Meanwhile, Flurry is following up on Edgar's stuff here right away. Seeing the Imp Sprite. So the engine room is another check of Edgar's that you could peek. Velvet seeing that Quasar and Grand Train and immediately saying, yes, I would like Edgar to be my magic caster from now on, please. Thank you. Yeah, so you can get half off the items in the World of Ruin South Figaro and both Figaro castles if you have Edgar as the leader of your party. Not necessarily in your party, but the person in the first slot in your party. I was hoping Lanxian would go for a roulette play on Larry. So Larry, you can instant death. But that 1 in 5 chance is probably not the odds in Lanxian's favor, as he is going to pick up his Calmness Protection there as well. So both Flurry and Lanxian grabbing Fenrir from Mount Cults. We'll see if any of our other runners go there as well. Yeah, so at lower levels, physical damage doesn't really do all that much. So that's why even though we have a Ragnarok, it's not really doing a whole heck of a lot. The other issue is that if we were to use Dance and use the Landslide Dance, which JS is now changing to, there's a chance that the Dance will not do the Landslide even though it's in the first slot. That's part of the problem with Dance, is you can't pick which ones will get actually executed. Meanwhile, another Kefka Tower boss here for Flurry, down on the Grabby Pasta, who is hungry for some Italian. Inferno certainly is. Yeah, I think 3 of our 4 runners have grabbed that Atma weapon, but none of them have been looking in Monster in a Boxes yet. We saw them be ignored on the Phantom Train and in Collapsing House. So I wonder if some of our runners are going to regret that. There's some Atlas armlets in the shop. Yeah, let's definitely pick some of those up. Because we have both a Ragnarok and an Atma weapon. So the Atlas armlet will definitely help out in those cases. See, he didn't give us a whole heck of a lot here, besides that Ragnarok and Imperial Camp. We got an Ice Shield to cast Ice 2. We have Edgar, thankfully, who knows Quasar and Grand Train, but other than that, it's kind of been a struggle here for our runners. Longer boss fights with not really a whole heck of a lot we can do. Flurry getting through the Inferno fight and grabbing Crusader there, so that's Esper number 6 for him. Again, nothing on that spell, or no good spells, rather, on that Esper. Does have magic power +1, so that'll be good for either Edgar, if we're going to be using lore, or Celeste, if we're going to be continuing with dance. And now JS has basically put his controller down, because we have dancing Celeste versus Chatternook with the rest of his party dead. Lanxian, meanwhile, heading down to the Figaro engine room, and he picked up a hero ring in that chest there. Really nice, because that does plus 25% damage for both physical and magical attacks. Meanwhile, we've got an old man on the throne. That is Strago there. I did not see what Strago had, chat. I don't know if you guys saw what commands he had, because commands in Worlds Collide are randomized. Strago with capture. Thank you, Yakko. Thank you, Natic, for the huge praise. Appreciate it coming from the community. Alright, we finally got through Chatternook. What is our reward here? Who is capturing Maria? It is a spooky phantom of the opera. I had to make that reference. Come on now, guys. But this is going to be either an Esper or a high tier item. Okay, it is an Esper at least. So that is progression. I don't think any of our other runners will get that Starlit Esper. So hopefully there's something good on it. And everybody else is heading into the Edgar checks here. So something interesting about Worlds Collide is that this game is deeper than it is wide. So a lot of the times, your next characters will come from the characters you've most recently recruited. If that makes sense, because the tree is deeper than it is wider. So if it was wide, then you'd have many characters under your initial set of characters, but since it's deeper than it's wider according to the algorithm, and this obviously isn't necessarily always true because computers, but that's why I think we see our runners now heading for the Edgar checks here. However, I have not seen anybody go to Floating Continent, and we're 36 minutes in. Of course, JS is going to have to go and prove me wrong here. So this is a play I probably would have made earlier, going to the Floating Continent. There are 2 guaranteed pieces of progression here, at the first spot and at the third spot. So you know that you're going to get your character or Esper here. And you're going to get a ton of levels, too, especially if you can take out these Hoovers. Flame Shield in a chest, nice to see as well, learning that Fire 2 for our group here. And we're starting to at least get some semblance of a team together. Ancient Castle is just 1 reward and not 2. And that's an Esper there for Flurry. Unicorn. I didn't get to see what was on it. Fire 3, okay. So that's Celeste online there with that Fire 3 Esper. Alright, unfortunately, this is the Blue Dragon, and we just put on a Flame Shield. So the Flame Shield actually gets twice as much damage from water attacks. The Ice Shield will nullify those water attacks, so that's why you saw one of his characters take 0 damage, and Shadow take a lot of damage. Although I think actually the Flame Shield is on Celeste there for Flurry. So here comes that Delta hit out from Inferno. So if you do not kill one of the arms in one of the first 3 turns against Inferno, on his 3rd turn, he will use Delta Hit, and that is not a fun attack to go up against. That is also the same with the 3 Stooges. So the Stooges will also do Delta Hit if you don't kill one of them after a couple of turns. I think it's 3 turns as well. Meanwhile, I don't know if Lanxian went up to the throne yet. Yes, he did. So he's also got his Strago. So now the question is, chat, do we go and do our Strago checks? We have Ebbets Rock, Burning House, and Fanatics Tower as possibilities. Lanxian short-circuiting out of the Edgar stuff is not going to go down to the Ancient Castle. This is an interesting play. If you want to do the Ancient Castle, you better do it at that point in time. Otherwise, you could nope out of here. I probably would have went down to the Ancient Castle just because I want some items. I want something for my team to do. Although that being said, I could see from Lanxian's point of view that, you know, his Sabin is useless, his Shadow is pretty useless, although he is gaining levels which will help with Sword Tech. So maybe he's thinking, I need more characters here, just so that I can get Sabin the heck out of my party and do some actual damage with some better characters. Monster in a Box for Flurry, and it's not one we care about. Lanxian heading up to the Floating Continent as well. So, yeah, I like this play if you are looking for another character to insert into your party and get rid of Sabin. Alright, Rexol, unfortunately for JS, and this is one of those fights where he is technically weak to ice, but he has super duper high magic defense and pretty low physical defense. So Celeste is going to do work with this Ragnarok, but his other 2 characters not so much. Alright, so Flurry going to move that Esper around there, that Fire 3 Esper that we got. Velvet is also going to grab that Fire 3 Esper here, and we'll see if they decide to do the Dragon. I clicked on the wrong thing for Flurry. He has 1 Dragon. Does Lanxian have 6 Espers? He does. Sorry, tracking and commentating and doing this at the same time, I could sometimes miss a few things. So chat, if you see me miss something here or there, just yell at me. Just be polite about the yelling, though. Volume is fine. Cursing is not. Alright, so the other monster in a box there in the Ancient Castle was the Spectre that gives the Hyper Wrist as a reward. So that'll be good for either our Atma weapon or a Ragnarok user to boost their strength stat. Alright, Velvet grabbing that Flame Shield as well. Taking a second here to equip it. Little does he know he's going to get a Fire 3 Esper in just a second. Alright, Rexol is the first boss down of the Floating Continent. Let's see what boss number 2 is here for JS. And we already fought Inferno, and here is Inferno at home, number 128. And there is the opener from the Blue Dragon. Alright, so Flurry is done with his Edgar stuff. Now let's see what he'll decide to do. If he will follow our runners on the bottom half of your screens into the Floating Continent, or if he's just going to stick around in the World of Ruin. And I think he's chasing Monster in a Boxes now, because the Cave on the Veldt also has another Monster in a Box here in a chest. Did he do Collapsing House yet? Let's check his tracker. Yes, he has done Collapsing House, unfortunately, and he can't go back in there to go check the Monster in a Boxes like I mentioned. So if you do that, you unfortunately will orphan those Monster in a Boxes forever. Meanwhile, it is Maduin as the Esper there on Floating Continent number 1, and it's got HP plus 100% on that Esper. Nice to throw on your Atma weapon user, or maybe a Valiant Knife user if we get one at some point in this seed. PM Stalkers on the monster in a box here for Flurry in the Velt Cave, the only ones that give any XP besides those juicy Gigantos. Alright, and that is Velvet done with a dragon. So that'll be check number 8 for them. Getting the Force Armor. Oh, and picking up the Esper afterwards. That's a bit unfortunate, because they would have loved to have learned that Fire 3 spell from that dragon. So one of the great things about dragons is not only do they drop high-tier items, they count as checks towards our check skip, which is the 22 that you see on the tracker there, but also they will basically teach you any spell instantly with 50 MP. That's a ghost sprite on the ground there for Flurry, so that means the Velt Cave is a dead check, unfortunately. Lanxian grabbing his 7th Esper there at the Floating Continent, and is right behind JS. So these two will finish out their Floating Continent in the next couple of minutes. And Flurry is looking around and decides that Phantom Train is the way to go. Makes sense based on the pattern of behavior that we've seen from him. Going to find those monster in a boxes. So we didn't see from our other runners who did the Phantom Train what this monster in a box is. But there's only a couple that we haven't checked. There's the one in the Phantom Train. There's the two in the Collapsing House that we can't look at. I don't think anybody peeked the Classroom monster in a box. And then there's the one in the Yeti Cave we can't get to. And there's also one in Setzer's Daryl's Tomb that we can't get to. So there is a possibility that we can't even get to the offering yet in this seed. As that's Strago for Velvet here. Doing it on the way out instead of the way down. So you save yourself a little bit of time by checking the throne on the way out of the 2 checks for Edgar than if you were to do this in between. Meanwhile, I think that is leader at the 2nd spot for the Floating Continent. Maybe I should have said was. Unfortunately, that is only a cat hood there for JS. I'm pretty sure that they skipped the monster in a box at Imperial Camp too, although I can't be certain. So yeah, that's another one that we potentially missed. So Cat Hood is probably the best helmet in the game. Will give you a super duper ton of GP rather from these grind fights, and it gives you elemental resistances to a fair bit of elements, doing 50% damage instead of their full maximum or their full damage. The fact that Shadow can wear the cat hood is canonically correct there, right? Because Realm is sort of implied that Realm is his daughter. But don't be like Shad Dad and abandon your kiddos. Velvet picking up those cheap Atlas armlets for half off with Edgar in the front of the party there. Alright, so, Flurry, what is in this monster in a box besides the 2 Mario hats? Drum roll, please. Just some more PM Stalkers. Not terrible because, again, they give experience and they give 15 MP actually, which is pretty good for a random encounter fight, but not what he actually wants. He wants the offering. Alright. And while Flurry is finishing up the Phantom Train, we have the Ghost Train boss here for JS at the end of the Floating Continent. Knowing that this boss is undead, is going to use the Slash Sword Tech, so that is used against things that aren't susceptible to, or rather are susceptible to instant death. So that's a nice heads-up play there from JS, getting really good utility out of Sword Tech. Meanwhile, Lanxian on the other side there, his Shadow just pumping damage in with, was that Sword Tech 4? Doing 15 a pop? He must have put like a Strength +1 Esper onto his Shadow there. Alright, so let's see what's at the end of the floating continent here. It's another Esper. So the problem with JS is that he still has 3 characters, so all of his fights thus far have just been taking a heck of a lot longer than all of the other runners that we have here, and that's unfortunately going to catch up to him real soon, if it hasn't already, because Lanxian and JS basically just did the floating continent, and Lanxian started way after JS did, and they ended about exactly the same. Meanwhile, one of the monster in a boxes here in the collapsing house is our Gigantos. Give me that XP, let me chew on it. Nom 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 nom. Yakko Wacko trying to give us the breakdown of the logic of this seed. So the only check that we haven't seen is Magitech number 3 that could have a character, or Kefkat Narsh besides our Barren Falls here. So it could be very much a Barren Falls required seed if there's nothing at the end of the Magitech factory in terms of a character, and if there's nothing at Kefkat Narsh. Alright, so Flurry here heading into Ebbets Rock. This is probably the tamest of the Strago checks if you ask most Worlds Collide runners. Unfortunately, you can't peek it, and it's a little bit dependent on RNG with all these coral chests. So, Flurry dodging a bullet here as Velvet showing us the other monster in a box is Aloe Vera, which actually gives the Tiger Fangs, which are Sabin's best weapon. So, it's a pretty decent stat stick if we're going to use Sabin as our magic caster for the rest of the seed. Alright, Flurry getting through, though, pretty quick of that Ebbets Rock there. And this will be a fast fight as well with Fire 3. Lanxian here is going to take the Velt Cave check. Maybe he doesn't realize that that Ghost Sprite means it's a dead check. Yeah, that's probably the best Ebbets Rock I've ever seen, between the chests and the boss. Odin Esper for Flurry, so he's at 9 Espers. He just needs one more character for go mode here. Velvet, meanwhile, grabbing that Esper there from Collapsing House. And JS is finally going to get his Edgar. So what do we have left as far as where a character is? I'm going to make a prediction in the chat. And you guys and girls in the chat can vote with your channel points here of where is our next character. So we have a few options here. We have Magitech 3. I think somebody just peeked Floating Continent and I completely missed it. Or not Floating Continent, Fanatics Tower. So, did anybody see what Fanatics was? It was a merchant, so I'm getting the chat saying. So I'm not going to put that as part of my prediction here. So, boys and girls and Moogles in the chat, I think we're left with 3. I think we're left with Magitech Factory number 3, Kefkat Narsh, and Burning House. I'm going to give us a couple of minutes here to predict with channel points what where our last character is. Because it's got to be at one of those 3. That's it. So predict as many channel points as you want, and we'll settle the prediction when we get one of our runners going to one of those checks. Again, we've got Kefkat Narsh, we've got Magitech Factory number 3, or we got Casa del Fuego, the Burning House. Please make a note that JS rolled this seed, so maybe that'll influence your prediction a little bit. Lanxian, meanwhile, is in World of Ruin Thabasa, so we might get our Burning House play here from him. Yep, we're heading in the end. Here we go. Just like the guy in the yellow suit peeking around behind the tree. I'm ready for this. Let's see what this is all about here. I also did not see what the reward was from the Velt Cave. Because it was definitely a dead check. And Velvet, realizing it's a dead check, gonna reset out here. Smart play by him. And JS is now at 53 minutes into the seed, starting on the Edgar stuff. So a little unfortunate with his choice of checks there, not going to Barren Falls earlier to get the Edgar, who will then, where he's gonna get Strago here. So at least he'll be on the right path. He'll be caught up with characters pretty quickly here. However, will he go to the Strago checks over the Edgar ones? That remains to be seen. Alright, Velvet doing Ebbett's Rock. So he's going to get Odin, which is nice because that's an instant death Esper. I don't think we've seen any instant death spells yet in this seed. So that'll be nice to have for Final Kefka. So not only are our runners trying to figure out, hey, where does the seed want me to go, and how do I kill my next boss, but the albatross of Kefka is looming large at the end of the seed. I don't think I used that reference correctly, but you know what I mean. So, if two of the checks are characters, we're just going to go with whichever one came up first. So if Lanxian pulls a character here out of Burning House, then Burning House will be our end of our prediction. Alright, so Flurry has Fire 3 for this Chatternook fight, so this will go down a lot easier than JS's Chatternook fight. JS over here in Kolingen. So here's an interesting thing. You could talk to that dude that is running around real fast, and you could equip and unequip your party and change your party out just like the airship guy. So that's a pretty smart heads-up play. To be like, hey, I'm going in here to go shop anyway. I could also undo the Sabin equips, because I think he put Strago into his party over Sabin. It's actually faster if you want to, say, talk to that guy and rearrange your party and put your party back together. You get right back on the airship at the controls. So it's actually faster than walking out of the town, waiting for the screen transition, pressing A on the airship, waiting for the airship to rise up in the air, and then doing the screen transition. It's actually faster to talk to that guy and rearrange your party, believe it or not. Tiny micro optimizations you could make in your next seed, boys and girls. Alright, so we've got SR Behemoth here at the end of the Burning House. Chat, you can debate what SR stands for. That's always a fun game that we like to play. But more importantly, is our 6th character going to be behind the Burning House? That is the question on my mind, at least anyway. Alright, Sriracha Behemoth is going to go down real fast here. Alright. If we get a cutscene, then we get a character. If not, we get an Esper. And it is a character, folks. There it is. So those of you that picked Burning House, enjoy your channel points. As that is Mog saving our bacon. So Physics Shebang wishing some great pain and misery on our team here. So nicely done winning that prediction. JS, seeing the ghost on the ground, has got to warp out. Flurry, meanwhile, on the right track here in the burning house, so when he's done with this check, he'll be in go mode. Now, the interesting thing will be if Flurry decides to look for 2 more Espers. Remember, nobody yet has touched Magitech Factory. We are 58 minutes into the seed, and nobody has even dipped a toe into the Magitech Factory yet. So that can be 2 really fast Espers for Flurry and can get him skip if he decides to go there. What do we think, Chad? Do you think that's a good move here for Flurry, perhaps, after the burning house? We'll see. Meanwhile, Lanxian here is deciding to add Mog into the party. I didn't quite see what Mog has, but honestly, it doesn't really matter because Sabin was doing us a whole lot of nothing. Alright, let's see where Lanxian decides to go here. And it doesn't look like it's Magitech Factory. Or at least not yet. He saw something that he liked in South Figaro, so we're gonna go buy that. Velvet in Mount Colts, so they will get their Fenrir. Oh wow, he's got $200,000? Yeah. He's making it rain. Buying a couple of Minervas and it's not even putting a dent in his bank account. Sir, can I borrow some money, please? Yeah, it's that cat hood, as Physics Shebang and Yakko mentioning there. When you go through the burning house, you fight these mobs and they will give you all the monies. Yeah, 15,000 per fight there, I just saw. Alright, JS taking a peek there at the first check of the Figaro engine room and sees that it's not a character, and he resets out. This is a good thing for him, because we know, chat, that the Edgar Ancient Castle loop is not going to be the answer for the runners here in our seed. By the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, hi from the past. I think about 55% of the people that watch our videos are actually subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and you get notified whenever we upload a video. All right, that's my shameless plug done for here. We're heading into the Magitech Factory finally at just over an hour mark into the seed. So, Lanxian has 2 opportunities here to get his go mode as far as I could see it. Because these first 2 checks in Magitech Factory are Esper item only. And then he will definitely warp out. I wonder if our runners are feeling behind or not. Unfortunately, this is a pretty linear seed as far as we can tell. Now, as you mentioned in the chat, there could be a character at Kefka at Narsh, and there also could be a character at Magitech Factory number 3. I don't think we're ever going to know about MTech 3, but Velvet is going to give us the Kefka at Narsh here. I really like this play because we could peek this check, and if it's not a character, we just reset out, and we know we got to go do Strago stuff. Flurry getting the answer there that is Mog, and that is his go mode. So we'll see if Flurry decides to go chase 2 more Espers for skip, or if he decides to just go into Kefka's tower. Alright, drum roll. What do we got at Kefka at Narsh? Not a character. You could reset out of here, Velvet, unless you didn't save. Oh, he's gonna do it anyway. Alright, Magitech Factory number 1 is our go mode for Lanxian. Ooh, Fire 3 as well on that Esper too. And let's see if he stays in or if he's warping out. It looks like he's looking for his warp stones. There you go, see you later. Meanwhile, Flurry is taking all that cash money that we got from the burning house, and he's heading to buy those Minervas as well. I think, however, that Lanxian will be our first runner into Kefka's Tower. So we'll go ahead and put the music on him. I forgot to set the music indicator at the beginning of the seed. My bad, chat. Alright, so let's see how the party gets arranged here in Kefka's Tower. So the bottleneck in Kefka's Tower is party number 3, the one all the way on that side, fights 3 bosses usually. So that's usually where the bottleneck is in Kefka's Tower. So you want 2 characters from your final party to be in party 3, and then you want to make sure that your characters in party 1 and party 2 can potentially solo a boss. Alright, so Velvet unfortunately getting caught here on the soldiers at Kefka at Narsh. So we're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer to see what's here. And it's my least favorite boss in the game, Air Force. And unfortunately, we don't know any lightning spells. Well, we know Bolt, but... yeah, so we've seen Doom. We've seen Rexol. Who else have we seen that's pretty gross? I think that's kind of it. Air Force is kind of gross. Yeah, so I must have missed it. The chat is pointing out that Flurry has stacked his party number 3. So maybe he's going to clear out the tower through the middle party. Then maybe he'll try and get Skip, and then head back in at the switches and clear out the sides. That is an interesting call, as Ifrit is the reward there for Kefka at Narsh. Maybe he's just not happy about his levels. As we do have a dabbing Yeti. Yeah, I think we just heard Lanxian saying that he hasn't seen Magimaster, which would be problematic. Yeah, that would be bad. That'd be really, really bad. Because I don't know if we have Berserk. And I have no idea how we would handle him other than Landslide and Pray to the RNGesus. And then Shadow using Sword Tech 1. But that's just terrible. That's horrible. We also have Quasar from Edgar. But yeah, that's it. Grand Train and Quasar. Landslide and... alright, so it looks like Flurry is going to take on a dragon here. If you're not feeling your levels, this is one way to get your levels. Maybe he's hoping for an offering to drop here. Because remember, he looked all over in the monster in a boxes and couldn't find one. So our offering monster in a box is probably either at the Umaro spot or at the Daryl's Tomb spot. Because I think we've basically seen all of the other monster in a boxes here. Esper number 9 for JS at Ebbets Rock. He just has to hop over to Burning House and he's back in this race, but he's flying away. No, you're going the wrong way, JS. Oh, he's going to peek Fanatics first. Hey, there's X-Zone on Ifrit, so there is our instant death in this seed, is behind Kefka at Narsh. Yeah, so Flurry just doing the first boss and the dragon to get his party some levels, and is going to head back in with the usual 1-1-2 formation here. So I really like that play from Flurry if he's not confident in his party with his levels, because you got to defeat that first boss Inferno anyway. You might as well do it with your whole team, and then you could take that dragon in Kefka's Tower with your whole team right, and get some extra levels. Meanwhile, JS here is shuffling the Espers and heading into Phantom Train. At least he could peek this check and will find himself an Esper and reset out. So, taking a look at his tracker, what he has left is Burning House, Magitech Factory number 3, which we haven't seen from any of our runners, and then the Edgar stuff. So I hope for his sake that he just bites the bullet and does Burning House and does not do any of the stuff with Edgar. Alright, so Lanxian with a slight lead here, I would say, because he's actually at the switches, whereas Flurry is heading up to the switches now. I didn't quite see what the level difference is between Lanxian and Flurry. Alright, so JS is making the right choice here, thank goodness. Heading into Burning House. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh boy. Look at who is at the Guardian spot. Holy cow. This is a disaster, folks. It's a catastrophe. Let's let's hope that landslide just keeps coming up. Actually, could we get some usage of Runic? That would be interesting. Yeah, this is whoo. This is the roadblock here, folks. At 1 hour and 10 minutes, the race has now started. So, it's who can beat Magimaster first. That is what matters now. Alright, so Flurry is not going to have Celeste in that group to fight Magimaster. We'll have, I believe, Shadow and Edgar. So, he could at least use Sword Tech 1 with Shadow, and can use Grand Train with Edgar. So he's actually set up slightly better than Lanxian is in this fight. So the Atma weapon that we have, even though it's defense ignoring, since Magimaster has such stupid high physical evade, it won't help, and Lanxian pulls through with that landslide from Celeste. I mean, it helps when you're doing quad 9s with landslide, right? It only takes a couple turns to kill Magimaster there. But that is huge for Lanxian, getting through the first of the giant roadblocks in this seed. Alright, let's see how Flurry handles this fight. Yeah, so he's got Shadow and Edgar. So he's at least gonna have two forms of attack against Magimaster here. Looking for Berserk, we definitely don't have it. But we have Grand Train, so that's what we're gonna use. So, Sword Tech 1 ignores physical defense. So that's why you want to use Sword Tech 1, or if you have enough levels, Sword Tech 7 here for Magimaster. You can also use Sword Tech 6 because it's non-elemental. So that's what Flurry is going to choose to use here. And just hope that he's got enough survival power. But I believe with all the elemental protection that we have, right? We found an Ice Shield, we found a Flame Shield, we bought a couple of Minervas. Hopefully this means that this won't be that bad. We have a Guardian at one of the statue spots for Lanxian, so yet another Kefka Tower boss, and oh boy. Guardian moved over slightly. Yeah, this fight's not going to be a problem for Flurry. It's just how long is this going to take? Alright, Velvet heading back over to Albrook to pick up a couple things, and now... Nope. Okay. Not yet. He's still picking up a couple things here before heading into Kefka's Tower. Alright, Flurry through Magimaster. Huge plays there. Lanxian struggling on Guardian here. Guardian is just a giant pile of HP at this high of scaling. Alright, so Velvet is going to take another dragon here. He's at 15 checks, so he's not close to skip. I think this is purely for getting an item and getting some levels. Using that Atma weapon on Edgar and the Ragnarok on Celeste. Alright, Guardian's dead for Lanxian. Vargas is dead for Flurry, so Lanxian with a one-boss lead here, heading into the last statue spot. Chat, what are your predictions for what the last boss of the seed is going to be here for Lanxian? It can't be one that we've already seen, and it can't be Magimaster, because that spot was bad enough. Alright, Lanxian has his shadow over here, so we'll be able to use sword attack against this boss. Oh, physics shebang! No, you did not just will that into existence. Oh my goodness. It is Goddess. Oh my Goddess, actually. Go buy a lottery ticket, man. That is... wow. Yeah, so this is a rude Kefka Tower, huh? Alright. Did Velvet just take a wipe to the dragon? No, he was using a tent. I am silly. I did not see what the reward for that dragon was, though. Yeah, so Lanxian's Sword Tech 4 is doing stupid damage. Usually you see those kind of numbers out of Sword Tech, out of 7, rather. So Lanxian must have had that Strength Esper on Shadow Wall Seed. Alright, well here comes the Meteor. But thankfully we have Sword Tech 5 with Shadow, so he can't really die. Unless he gets insta-dead one shot. The Sword Tech 5 will allow you to absorb HP from whatever boss you're fighting against. Flurry, meanwhile, with no lightning magic, is deciding to resort to Flare against Guardian here. So again, this fight will take a while. He's not in danger of losing out on it. It's going to take a little bit. That is, however, the last boss down for Lanxian, and he will be our first runner stepping up to Kefka here. We like to play a little game here sometimes. How long do you think it'll take the runner, in this case Lanxian, to take down Final Kefka? So, here are the things that we know. We know that we have Fenrir for Calmness Protection. I don't think we have Mute, although I could be mistaken. And I don't think that we have Instant Death outside of Odin for most of our runners. I know that Velvet probably learned X-Zone from that Ifrit Esper from Kefka at Narsh, but without some of those things to keep final Kefka in check. I think this will be a bit of a longer Kefka fight. So I'm going to go with 8 minutes and 47 seconds for my final Kefka fight here. And we'll start the timer when we see Kefka, as JS finally heading into Kefka's tower now, after grabbing the his go mode at the burning house. All right, 1:18:31 is our start time for Lanxian. And I typed 30 in the chat. My bad. So we'll call it 1:18:30. As Flurry gets the bad news that we have a Vanilla Goddess, I think this is, right? Velvet, meanwhile, seeing the Dirt Durgan here in Kefka's tower. I don't know if this wasn't the same dragon that Flurry fought, right? He fought the Storm Dragon, so this is the dragon in party number 2's path. Yeah, the problem with Lanxian's sound is I've heard him talking before, and I don't necessarily want to have me talk over him, but let's hope he's not saying anything. Alright, so we have Fire 3, which will make quick work of this part of the boss. The problem is we do not have any instant death. So we're going to take a lot of hits from this this balled up fist.
Oh, well, it can counter after Quadra's Hand is all done.
Yeah, I'll get... not only am I tracking and restreaming and commentary, I'm also FAA censors too. Or FCC censors. I can't even get my organizations correct. Oh, Sabin is on the verge of taking a wipe here for Flurry. He's going to try and power through it here with Flare, though. And JS is going up against our Dabbing Yeti. Alright. Opting to use an elixir here. Smart play for Flurry to keep his Sabin in the game. Celeste doing massive damage there with those spells. And that's tier 1 done for Lanxian.
I think I need to kill Magic first.
Alright, so you hear him with the strategy. He's going to go after Magic first, which means that we probably don't have Mute. And I know we have Odin for instant death. We'll see if he decides to use it on this tier or not. But this is going to be a rough one, folks. Gonna have to unimp Shadow here. Meanwhile, Flurry's stepping on the switches here as well, so we'll get a sense of the time difference between these two runners when we get into the final fight. But Tier 2 can certainly make things wildly unpredictable, so Flurry, in spite of the fact that he's probably a couple of minutes behind, he'll probably be about a little bit less than 3.5 minutes behind. No, it'll probably be more like 4 minutes behind. Anything can happen here. I think the party compositions are pretty similar for these two.
My person getting beat up.
I think the only person with somebody a little bit different is oh no, I'm sorry. Lanxian is the one that has Mog in the party over Sabin. Alright, so that's Magic with 2 Dispels. So Magic is on the way out. We just have to do one more little bit of damage here, and this should be it. But he's keeping himself in the menus here, weight tricking, because we can get at least a quarter each time he decides to do a near-death counter. And that's Magic Dead. So we've got to heal up Mog now. And we have to take out the rest of Tier 2. So both Flurry and Lanxian casting Big Guard as soon as the fight starts. So Big Guard is safe plus shell. So that gives you 33% damage reduction for both physical and magic attacks. On Tier 1, though, it's only magic attacks, except for our Polarity and Dread, but those don't really do damage, so you're fine with the magic defense buff here. Alright, so Tiger is weak to Ice. As you see, even Ice 2 is doing almost quad 9's damage there for Celeste. So much elemental protection on this squad here. And I think we have Shadow using a Man-Eater for Lanxian. I'm not quite sure, but that is what the animation looks like. So the Man-Eater will do twice as much damage to human-type targets. So that means both magic and hit are considered human here on Tier 3. Both Lady and Rest are also considered human. And then for the final boss, Kefka is also considered human, even though he's a god. I don't know, that really doesn't make much sense, but trust me, I've done the math. Alright, JS is going to get the surprise here of the Magi Master. He only has Celeste here in this party, so he's going to have to use Landslide. Because as you see, you can't really use the Atma weapon without the offering because of the high physical evade of Magi Master. Alright, out comes 10 hits. And I think we just have tools left maybe for Lanxian, or did he already take care of tools? Meanwhile, I completely forgot to note down when Flurry started this fight, but I think it's a 4-minute difference between our two runners here. Alright, so that is Tier 3 done, or Tier 2 done. So I think, honestly, that was the worst part of the fight that Lanxian is going to have to deal with. Because Tier 3, we do have Fenrir for our calmness. And then for Final Kefka, we have a bunch of shields and stuff to throw at him. So I don't think that that's going to be a problem at all.
I didn't get any bad things either. So this one he starts with.
Alright, so JS unfortunately picks the wrong dance there. So when you haven't used the dance in over an hour, sometimes you forget which one it is. So that's going to be a bit unfortunate here. I just don't think that Celeste can die because of the Minerva that she has on, but she's also not going to be able to deal damage to Magi Master, so this will have to be a reset and a walk through the tower. That being said, Magi Master does, on some of his turns, use Doom, so that is a potential roadblock here for our Celeste. Unfortunately, that proc happens, and that's not good. Or is that just a straight up Pearl Rod? Alright. Meanwhile, Velvet sees Magi Master, but has both Shadow and Edgar here.
25. So we're going to do 2. Oh, so I have to cast Fenrir.
So let's see what Velvet decides to do here. Opening up with his highest damage elemental spell. Unfortunately, can't use Atma weapon there. Alright, so here comes Meteo out for Lanxian. So that means that Sleep is now under 10,000 HP. We have to push through with damage to him here in order to kill him off. And we're going to use Celeste with the Fire 3, so this should be good enough to do it. And he's got the Fenrir cast, so Calmness will come out. Whiff on Shadow, whiff on Edgar, and he's on to Final Kefka with his full party intact. Meanwhile, Flurry is fighting or battling the beast that is Tier 2 here.
Yeah, no one's finished yet.
Drinks Glue walking on in. What's up, Drinks Glue? You're just in time for the Magi Master at Guardian routine for 2 of our runners. So that's fun. Alright, so Velvet is going to use a combination of Sword Tech 6, and I hope he starts to use Grand Train for Edgar. Because like I said, Magi Master's extremely high physical evade makes the Atma weapon miss almost all the time. Yeah, so Sandstorm, unfortunately, for JS's wind damage, so that's why you see it getting nullified. And Velvet making it through Magi Master there. Really nice to see him punch through that fight there. And here comes Vargas. Alright, a hyperdrive coming out for Kefka. That means he's got under 30,000 HP, so we're officially in counterattack mode. He may charge up for Goner here. And I told JS in the race chat to reset. Well, I didn't tell him to reset. Basically told him he picked the wrong dance. I don't think there's a way that he could damage Magi Master with this dance. He just commented, "I wonder how much MP he has left." That is a bold strategy there, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off for him. Like I said, I don't think that Celeste can die unless Magi Master picks Doom in. Of course, as soon as I said it. Clutch block though there for Celeste. Meanwhile, charge up for Goner happening for Lanxian. Now's the time. Throw your shields at the problem. Do as much damage as you can. Could that be it? There it is. 1:30:42 is your official time for Lanxian. Get your GGs in the chat as he is our first place finisher here. As we now have Flurry here getting through Tier 3. Alright, Flurry getting his HP back up in his party. Alright, so that is the battle command from Sleep there. As unfortunately, Doom finally takes down Celeste. So that's a reset there for JS. He's got to choose the right dance next time. Speaking of choosing the right dance, we have our first place finisher. Lanxian in the chat. GG's, congratulations. Man, that seed was completely awful.
Yeah, that wasn't that fun. Tapir the seed, I guess. I don't know. I'd like to get a count at the end of the day how many tapirs versus landslides, but we'll be okay.
Yeah, so no love for our little Asian mammal friends here.
Yeah.
You did manage to push through Magi Master with the landslide doing quad 9's damage, so You load up the seed, and you see you have Celeste with Dance, and Sabin with Uselessness, and Shadow with Sword Tech. So what are sort of your thoughts here about how you attack the seed?
So just seeing the fact that the Dance and the most common thing is Landslide, it's like on average you're gonna have a really good character. She had pretty decent magic, so I wanted to get some items. I wanted to use some free scaling, and then hit. I love Sabin's the 3 battles in the oh my god, I can't think the Imperial camp. So like I'd love to like scale up a little bit, find something to fight some things, maybe a fire rod or something like that to kill a bunch of enemies, and then just like try to scale from there. And I thought Dance would carry me through some of the bosses because you need like 1 or 2 landslides if you can get 2 earrings. So that was kind of the hope. And then having Sabin's checks, you just have like all super condensed, so you can kind of like go from there and we're all in that top right corner of the map, so you can get to do all those checks. Lots of chest items, locations. I did earlier in the didn't find anything in my normal checks like the Returner's hideout and Figaro Castle, and then like from there I'll go to like. I was like, I think I need a little more offense. I can't just have maybe Dance Landslide save me. So, yeah, because if I fought like
it's
a boss
good for the beginning, but not also if it's a multi-targeted boss, right? Landslide's not going to help you.
Yeah, Air Force would have just like absolutely destroyed me because I just had no way of killing it. And like finding an Ice Rod, she had and a Magic +1 Esper super early on. Like her Ice 2s were hitting really hard as well, so it was like I was kind of in an okay spot to like. I got a ton of experience after like I think I got 3 checks before I started doing experience stuff, and then I was able to kind of just like power through the mid game with X2 spells, and it ended up. It always felt very tenuous the whole seed. I was like, if I run into a really bad boss, this could get really bad really quickly. So
yeah, we did find some bad boss. I mean, Doom in Barren Falls is pretty bad. You missed out on Air Force at Kefka at Narsh. We did see that. Goodness. But yeah, the Magimaster in Kefka's Tower and the Vanilla Goddess more than sort of made up for it there. Imperial camp fights weren't that great for XP though, because you had the dragon that sneezed everybody away, and you had the Brachiosaur that you couldn't really beat. So you sort of had to come up with levels in some other way. So what was your thought process walking away from Imperial camp, not maybe getting as many levels as you wanted there?
So I think, if I remember correctly, I think I went out of there, and before Phantom Forest, I think I took an extra fight. In just like outside, so just like to get like level 12, 13, I think. And then once I was there, I was okay. Then I went right into Phantom Forest. That I was a little tenuous with that. I probably should have just did Barren Falls first, just to, like fight the boss, because I think that if I got the item and then got to a boss I couldn't kill on Phantom Train, I would have lost a lot of time. So I probably should have hit like a boss or 2 in that area, but I was trying to keep it kind of condensed. So.
Yeah, well, and you were trying to get levels for your party, right? Phantom Train has fights you could fight if you really needed.
Yeah, that was the reason I ended up going there. But like, I was a little tenuous halfway through walking through Phantom Train. I was like, this could be bad, but we'll see what we can do.
So we're getting towards the end of the seed here, and you can't find the 6th character. You're looking at the checks that you have left, and you picked Burning House over a few other ones. Was there any rhyme or reason to it, or was it just, hey, maybe people don't check this first, and I'm gonna go check it now?
So I ended up going that way because with the stuff that I had left, I had Magitech, which the first 2 checks are pretty quick, and they're either Magicite or a character. So I knew I could get a Magicite there quick. So I wanted to I did the Shadows spot play in the belt to just see if I could check it, and I figured I could just do it because I was still really needing levels. And if it's not there, I have another check at a character at Burning House, and I really, instead of having to like find dragons, I could take a lot of fights in Burning just to get up from because I think all my party members like level 33. So if I could get like 3 or 4 more levels by organically doing a check, I was able to like actually gain some fights. So I ended up going to Burning House because 1, it was close after the check, and 2, I got levels out of it.
All right, so Flurry just getting the crack, pal. 1:37:11. Get your GGs in the chat for him. You sort of close the gap that he was coming up on you. I think there was about a 4-minute difference when you guys had started Kefka, but it looks like you opened up, I guess, 2.5 minutes of a lead in there somehow. So, speaking of which, talk to us a little bit about your final Kefka fight. Sans mute, sans instant death. What was your sort of approach to the fight?
It is the reason I ended up flying to South Figaro to pick up all the Minervas. I was like, I needed something that
You
was
were
going to
raining
actually
in
help
cash
me.
there.
Yeah, I like the burning house fights gave me a ton of gold, so I did that. I was very scared of that entire thing. I got a very, very kind tier 2 and a very kind tier 3, I think. I got no heals, I got no trains, I got no zombies, I got nothing really. So it was just like steady offense and making sure Mog was kind of doing. I did a lot of extra healing with Mog the whole way up. I probably was a little safer than I need to be. I burned my mega elixir pretty early. But I was a little worried about that, but it was basically a very steady fight. I think Fire 3 on Celeste was like the thing that actually helped me a ton. But I had a ton of offense throughout the whole thing, so I was kind of hoping to just power through, and having Minerva, 3 Minervas saved me there.
Yeah, definitely, because then, magic spells aren't going to harm you, they just waste your time, right? And
Yeah.
we sort of heard you talking your strategy through as you were heading up to tier 2. Take out magic first and deal with everything else afterwards.
Yeah, that was kind of the hope. He's the one that kind of does like the most damage. I don't know. I'm always afraid of a muddle off of him.
Right.
So it's either him or it's the tiger for zombie. But other than that, it's like you're kind of just rolling the dice anyways.
So, last question for me. I noticed you are in 3rd place right now in your Ultros League division, Potion A, along with Flurry, who you ended up taking down in this particular race. What have your thoughts been so far on this season of Ultros League, and is there something maybe that you can take from this race forward to potentially leapfrog either Flurry in 2nd or Physics Shebang, who's also been in the chat, cursing your seed, by the way. He was the one that said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Goddess was the last boss in the seed? And sure enough, that's where it was. But yeah, so anything you want to take forward with you from this seed to hopefully leapfrog those two in your division here.
Well, you definitely never take anything Physics says truth, because every time he posts something in our Potion A chat, it was something horrific happened with our seed, so he's not allowed to talk anymore. I've noticed I've lost a ton of time this season on my earlier races by like trying to get a perfect offense, and something I've learned is that once you start catapulting early, like this seed was like the perfect example of like you can win with like Ragnaroks and like an Atma weapon and a Fire 3. Like you can win with just like medium stuff through the mid game. You need to fire so I need to stop checking for stuff when I have the offense to win and be confident that I can win. So it's helped me kind of get back on some of those guys, because the guys I'm playing now that I wasn't in Tonic last season, and now I'm in Potion, these guys are a little stronger, so it's like I got to kind of find my edges where I can.
Yeah, so that's interesting, going from one division to the other. You said there is a definite difference you could feel between being in Tonic and being in Potion.
Yeah, for sure. And like it's been actually a pretty tight race between the 3 of us. I think that like there's like a 6 or 7 point difference between the 3 of us totally. So it'll be a lot of fun for the next couple weeks. I'm really excited.
Yeah, awesome. Well, again, thanks for volunteering to be on Restream. Can't have the races without the runners, and for hopping in last minute and being like, yo, I'll do a broadcast. Sure, why not? So thank you for that, and we'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for restreaming. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This is a fun seed to watch. I'm sure it was probably not that way to play it.
Yeah, I've had more fun seeds in the past for sure, but I can't wait to go look back and see how everyone else handled dancing for their life.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Thanks. Catch you later.
Thank you so much. Take it easy.
We are joined by Flurry, coming in 2nd place in this race. GG's to you, sir. So what were your thoughts on this particular seed, given we started with Celeste with the best dance that you could have, but then we found kind of nothing else for a while?
Yeah, it didn't really seem like there was a lot of really good answers. And a couple of gaps at the end that I got very lucky to avoid. Scaling caught up with me a little bit, and it sure seemed like the game wanted to give you a lot of the hard bosses at the very beginning.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of the bosses were really hard, and a lot of our runners, you included, went to Imperial Camp pretty early on, and there were just fights in there that you either couldn't win or you just got blown away from in the case of the dragon, right? So you didn't really get the XP you're usually used to from doing a full Imperial Camp check. If you're only taking 2 out of the 4 fights in there, right?
Yeah, and if a little luckier on the dance rolls, as long as Celeste gets the levels from that dragon, I think it's a little better. But yeah, the Brachiosaur is just such a risk, and then 2 of them got disastered very badly. I was like, yeah.
Dancing imps are never fun.
I thought about queuing a dance, and then when it goes off, just run the other 2, so it would have been like no risk, since that was the last fight. But I was just like, nah, get me out of here.
Yeah, I completely understand that, as JS unfortunately is not going to make it past Magimaster. I think he is not a fan of dance, and the fact that Landslide did not show up for him as often as other people did. The only thing that I think you did a little bit differently than some of our other runners was you decided not to go to the floating continent. Is there a particular reason for that, or was it just, hey, I don't really like it. It's a long set of checks here.
I mean, we got had so few dead checks that I felt like if I didn't do it right away, it was just too much of a risk to do later. The last thing you want is to hit 6. The last thing you want is to unlock KT with the first floating continent check. And then as soon as I saw Strago, I was like, oh, regret is setting in.
Well, the bad news, or good news, I don't know. Either way, floating continent was just 2 espers and a force armor, I think, was the second one.
Wow,
so
okay, good.
You dodged, you saved some time there dodging a bullet. This seed really came down to who did Burning House first, and unfortunately for you, Lanxian did it before you, and that was basically the difference in the seed. He sort of pulled away a little bit in the Kefka fight. You entered about 4 minutes behind him, and it was a 6.5 minute difference at the end, but still, that's basically what happened in this seed. Who did Burning House first? Who took the plunge?
Yeah, I mean, there weren't really a lot of good tools for the Kefka fight either, right? Like, I only had 1 instant death, and I decided to burn that on 2 instead of 1.
Yep.
No mutes. And then I realized in the second fight, I have no echo screens and 1 remedy. So
oh god, I didn't even see that.
If K3 or K4 cast Train, it's a reset, and I'll probably forfeit.
Yeah, yikes. So a little bit of good luck there, but
yeah, for sure.
Definitely not good luck with your monster in a boxes, though. I think you dug in all of them except for Imperial Camp, and you'll also be thankful to know Velvet did the Imperial Camp ones, and neither one of them was Katana Soul either. So Katana Soul must have been either in Yeti or in Daryl's tomb. We just didn't see it, so.
Yeah, and I'm still not 100% on whether or not it's a good idea to totally go for them, because, like, Sabin was just a potato for 75% of that seed.
Yep.
That on a magic power +1 for 25 levels, and then he became functional. So I was like, if I get an offering I can give, and they can use the Atma weapon, great. It's a little bit of an upgrade for Edgar if I happen to pull one and I don't.
Right.
But, by the time I got Mog, I was like, alright, well now Sabin has a magic power of like 45, 50, so I guess I'll keep him.
Yeah,
but
and you don't have to reteach him all those spells too, right?
Yeah, so it might not have been worth to check them at all, even with an Atma weapon in hand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. It definitely would help on the Magimaster fight, that's for sure. But
yeah, I got lucky on the
pairing.
Just happen to have the right characters. How that goes sometimes. Although all of those bosses were just. I mean, Magimaster one side, Goddess on the other, and then Guardian on the left side.
Yeah. It was a pretty brutal Kefka's Tower, because I think we were talking in chat, like, yeah, the bosses in this seed weren't that bad. Like, even though it was annoying and a slog to get through, because we didn't have very good spells and we didn't have very good like builds really, so everything was kind of a slog to get through. But the bosses themselves weren't that tough, except for Doom and Barren Falls. But yeah, anyway, so I did notice that you are currently in second place in your division, Potion A. Is there something maybe from the seed that you want to take forward with you to stay in position to be promoted back to the Elixir tier at the end of the season?
Not really. I mean, I feel like when you look at seeds, and I think this kind of goes for all randomizers, the last thing you want to look at is the result.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to look at what you did right and what you did wrong. And there wasn't real, like, I think the main pathing gamble was, like you said it out there, you could add Character 6 a lot earlier if you decided to do Burning House.
Yeah.
You know, doing that or not doing that is the outcome of seed, you know, so it goes. Sometimes you're going to take Burning House, sometimes you're not.
Yeah, and most of the time, most people are not, so it's totally
but
understandable.
Otherwise, it's just staying in practice, right? And just being able to plan for whatever situation it comes up and then going from there.
Buy more Echo screens. Yeah, so awesome. Thank you so much for volunteering to be on Restream. Can't have these fun broadcasts without the runners doing them, so I really appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of the season, and we'll catch you soon.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for putting together a Midnight Restream. It's really awesome.
All right, no problem. I'll catch you later. Okay, so Velvet here decides, hey, I can't take on Goddess with just Sabin and Strago, and is rightfully reforming the party and heading back into Kefka's Tower. So if you want to do this, you have to remember that your party number 1 stays on the left side of the tower the whole time. That is, if you don't do some party swapping shenanigans at the switches. Your second party, which is in the middle at the start, will be on the right-hand side after the switches, and then your party number 3, which is on the right at the beginning, will end up the middle at the end. Speaking of up the middle at the end, we're joined by numbers here, JS, 8/27/1986. Thanks for rolling that one. Really appreciate it as a viewer of the race.
Yeah. Ew. That was rough.
Yeah, so you start out with Celeste with Dance, and then Sabin with Uselessness, and Shadow with Sword Tech. You got some free checks available to you, and what was sort of your plan from the seed from the onset there?
Well, with having Landslide, I was just thinking, oh, you know what? Just crank these up and then go to Imperial because there's no boss.
Right.
So I got all my free checks. Went there. Dragon did not want to die. Celis did not want to use Landslide. She just kept doing Tapir. I ate so much time on that, and I still didn't like my levels afterwards. So I said, hey, let's go to Opera House. Opera House wasn't much better.
No.
And I was like, let's get some more grind fights. Let's go to Floating Continent. Wasn't much better. So the offense just was kind of rough for the play I made anyways. There was probably way better plays for this anyways.
Yeah, I think part of it was that it was unfortunately a very linear seed with Edgar behind Barren Falls, and then Strago behind Edgar, and then Mog behind Strago. We didn't quite see what was at Magitech number 3, but we saw everything else. So, yeah, that's basically... I think the seed was just that linear. And going over, your thought process is totally understandable why you chose to do the a bit of the longer checks that you did. We just never came across good spells, and other than the Ragnarok and the Atma weapon, which we couldn't use till way later, we never really came across good offensive weapons either, so...
Well, I did find fixed ice on one of the dragons at the end, but Celis couldn't equip it, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, didn't really matter for the Magimaster fight. Were you just fighting the dragons, hoping to find, some sort of weapon, or maybe an offering for that Atma weapon to use on Magimaster?
I was praying for an offering. That's exactly what I was hoping for, and didn't come across it. I mean, I think fixed ice would have got me through fairly quick if if she could have equipped it, but I mean, I mean, it would have finished out, but I would have been sitting there another 2,500 hours waiting, probably on
That
landslide.
that's an exact timer figure, by the way. 2,500 hours.
Yes. That's right, exact. But yeah, the RNG was just not with me tonight. I mean, it was even though I don't think I wiped until Magi Master. It was just all my fights were super slow.
Yeah, it was just brutal.
Yeah, it was. But I did learn something tonight that you can sketch ninjas for water edges, so that wasn't too bad.
There you go. Yeah, so with the sketch command, if you know the rage, you kind of know the sketch. And it looks, I'm looking at Velvet's screen here. If you had Edgar in that party, Edgar looks like they could use the fixed ice from the Dragon Drop. So, again, just one of those unfortunate things where I think Lanxian got 2 or 3 instances of landslide cast off. So that's how he got through that fight. Flurry had Shadow and Edgar there, so you could use Grand Train and Sword Tech to get through that fight. But yeah, if you were stuck, you were kind of stuck.
Yeah. I probably could have warped out and done something, but I mean, I was having fun with it by this point. I was just like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's roll the dice and who cares, right?
Yeah, that's basically how I look at it. I mean, we do this for fun. It's not like it's our job or anything. The day that I start really, like, I know a lot of people out there that rage quit on video games, but the days I start doing that is the day that I will step away from it.
Yeah, I am nobody watched my YouTube content. I'm very famous for getting a little bit angry at competitive games sometimes. But yeah, at the end of the day, this has to be fun. And, you know, sitting there, putting your controller down, that wasn't the first fight. I think there was another fight where it was just Celeste with Dance, and you were fighting against another boss, and you just were like, I'm putting the controller down, and that's it.
Was it Doom?
It might have been Doom. It was one of the fights where your 2 other party members died, and you were stuck using...
I think I had several of them. I
Yeah.
think Rexol did it too. I think Rexol and Doom was both like that.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, those battles were slow. Oh, it was just like, come on.
So I do notice here in the Ultros League standings, you're in Tonic C, and currently you are sitting in 5th place here. Is there maybe something that you did in this run tonight, or maybe something you want to avoid doing in the future to help you sort of move up in your division there?
Nah, really, it's just lately I feel like I've been in a real rut lately because I usually run like anywhere from, I usually run low to mid 20s on most of my seeds, you know, unless I get into a mess like this. But lately, right. I've just not been making good choices, to be honest. I mean, it's like I think I'm doing really good, and then all of a sudden, you know, 20 minutes later, I'm like, where's my next character? Where's my next Esper? I just feel like lately I'm just in a rut, and that's all right. It happens. I still love playing the game, so that's good enough. But I've been trying to not play it as much, so
Right.
maybe something will happen.
Or you just play different things, which is, you know, a good segue for you to plug, you know, sort of what you're doing with being the Chaos Crew Commissioner here. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a tournament of the month going. It is what I call pure chaos. Basically, you come in, we do a full scale async. Everybody runs the async, and then after that, the top 8 go into the next week, and we do pool play. So you got pool A, pool B, and at the end of that, we'll have 4 for out of each pool for the next week, and then those will cross over. And then after that, you'll have your final 2. And the cool part about the final 2, I should probably mention anybody out there that doesn't know what a Chaos Seed is. We got the lovely C-Bot that will just roll a completely random seed. There's certain parameters in which it rolls for just chaos, but there's also a true chaos, which makes it even more chaotic. That's the only way I can put it. But
yeah, it's sort of
like-
like what the bot does is it takes some of the sliders and it slides them to certain extremes, and then true chaos is, well, those extremes become even more extreme on the sliders, right? Where you could
Exactly.
potentially be getting some really, really wild settings that you normally would never ever see. Like, I think one of the seeds that we did recently was there was no boss XP, but the Kafka was unlocked at like 3 checks. So
Yep.
you could literally just what I did the entire seed was I said, all right, well, if bosses aren't giving me XP and all I have to do is a couple of free checks to unlock Kefka, I'm just going to take grind fights for the next half an hour to get my party up. And the big part was figuring out what part of the world had the undead mobs that I could easily just buy a stack of 30 Revivify and just kill. Right, so that was
the best way to do it.
It forces you to come up with just interesting strategies that you would never ever use in a quote unquote normal race, right? So,
But also on the other hand, for all those people out there that they like for me, like I'm in a slump right now, and there's certain things that I'm like, why am I not doing this? If you go and start running some chaos seeds, it will actually, I honestly believe that it will improve your regular game a lot, because you'll start realizing, oh, I've got to be able to use this on this boss in order to get through, and it gives you it opens up your mind, if you ask me, and I think it makes you a lot better player just for Ultros League.
yeah, completely
It
agree.
shows you your weaknesses.
Yeah, completely agree. Right, I know that in our community and with speedrunning communities in general, it's mostly about getting like what is the best time you've had, sort of thing. And with this game, right? Sure, it's fun to get personal best and to chase the clock, but you'll become a better player overall if you finish seeds that are ugly, or do things that learn the game more inside and out, because basically every seed can be a PB because every seed is different, right? Technically, so it's one of those
that's right.
one of those weird things with the randomizer. So anyway,
Exactly.
oh, this is not good. We have Sabin muddled, and he's wearing a Mirage vest. That's always fun times. Fun times at tier 2. Yeah, so would you have looked forward to this Kefka fight without mute, without instant death? It would have been pretty
Well,
bad.
I at least had Odin.
Yeah.
I had Slash, so and I had Demi, so I probably could have knocked that short arm down and tools down with that. If I got lucky with Slash, anyways, I would have.
Right.
But obviously that wouldn't have happened because RNG did not like me tonight, and I will keep saying that. I'm going to. But
you did get to use Slash on the Ghost Train, though, which was pretty cool. That was a nice heads-up play there.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Yep, I'm using this," and that gave me 2 hits, and Ghost Train was done, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Kefka, that final battle would have been pretty rough. I mean, for Lanxian beating that seed as fast as he did, that was a pretty good time on this seed.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a great time on this seed. I mean, he had to have had some really, really good heads-up plays or just some lucky RNG. I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch it, but this was a rough seed.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of knowing what to do when, and because we were talking about those fights. You said you pivoted towards more checks that had grind fights. So for Lanxian, he took off the Moogle Charm and did 2 grind fights outside of Imperial Camp after it was done, just because he's like, yeah, we didn't get levels from this check, right? So doing like heads-up plays like that will help you out immensely throughout the seed, and it helped him here because it allowed him to beat bosses faster and stay ahead of the game. And sometimes it is just luck, because he got through Magimaster with basically the same party that you had, with somebody with dance and somebody that couldn't do anything. So obviously there's a little bit of luck there, but also becoming prepared and taking some more levels because you're not killing bosses as fast skill that's very difficult to teach. You just have to know it and feel it out a little bit, right? So
Absolutely. And that
Oh,
that takes a
no.
long time to
Oh,
figure
God.
it out.
Oh no! Oh man, Saban is doomed, and the other 3 members are frozen. So this is what happens when you don't have mute for tier 2, folks. So speaking of teaching, you're also in the Moogle Cup as one of the mentors. So wanted to thank you for doing that, and also tell us a little bit about maybe your mentor experience, as Celeste is also zombied. So this is a disaster here.
Oh, that's so rough. I'm really glad I didn't finish the seed now.
Anyway,
This might have been my last seed ever.
yeah.
But
that's
anyways,
it.
the Moogle Cup has been,
Oh, here we go. Now
great.
we'll get unfrozen at least.
Whenever I started playing, about 4 years, 3 or 4 years ago now, I wish they would have had something like this going on, because I felt like I was just up in the air most of the time, and all I'm doing is just watching VODs and stuff like that, trying to figure out what's going on. And until I kind of figured out what was going on with Discord and everything, I was kind of timid about asking questions and stuff, because this is the first time with Worlds Collide. That's the first time I ever got on Discord, and I'm kind of like, I was new to all of it. So I was like, do they get annoyed with me asking questions?
The answer is no in the Worlds Collide community for sure.
Oh, I know that now.
But now you know it, obviously. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
but,
I was trying for a while to figure out, because we do have the mentor video review system that I put together with, submissions on forums, but still, that's still kind of a barrier to entry for some people, right? Because they don't want to bother other people, as you mentioned. So
right.
I'm glad that we also have sort of this event putting people together. But anyway, go ahead. What else about this experience can you tell me about with the Moogle Cup?
And just getting to know somebody in the community, like one-on-one, sitting and talking with them, and even though I'm talking to somebody that's new to it, I'm as I'm teaching, I'm learning myself, because I'm like, why don't I do this better? I need to do this better. It's funny how teaching will make you a better player.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I completely agree.
I'm pretty excited. My mentee, he is 3-0 for the sync part of it. So I can teach. I just can't play.
Well, listen, sometimes the student has to become the master after a while, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, I've certainly enjoyed doing mentoring. It's good to. You have to know what you're talking about in order to teach somebody else how to do it, right? But also, you get questions, and if you don't have the answers to those questions, it also makes you think, do I need to change my approach a little bit? I think one of my mentees asked about the Opera House check, and they're like, why don't you just take 2 or 3 grind fights in the basement while you're looting, instead of doing the Opera House disruption check? Because it's way longer, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I didn't really have an answer for that, right? So,
but you kind of talk about that, and me and my guy, we kind of had the same discussion, and I thought it was really cool. He went and made this made like a flow chart of how he starts his seed, and which grind fights are good, and which ones are questionable, and which ones are try to avoid. And he had basically. Imperial camp's always good, blah blah blah, and then on Opera House, I think he wrote on there sketchy.
Sketchy at best.
Yeah, because who knows? You could be level 10 going in there, and then it's Magic Master at the end, and you can't even do anything about it.
Yep. So very cool. So thanks for organizing the race. Anyway, I was just here being like, well, maybe we could do a broadcast. That'll be fun. But you were the one that actually put the race together. And most importantly, for the viewers at home, you rolled this monstrosity. So seriously, thank you for
What can I say except you're welcome?
So yeah, appreciate it. Can't have the races without the runners, and good luck to you the rest of the season, and looking forward as always to trying to stay ahead of my other runners in my pool for our chaos run. So I think I will probably do my chaos run at some point in the next couple days here. I've just been a little bit busy with the mentorship and other life stuff going on, but
yeah,
I definitely want to do my my version of the seed sometime soon.
I gotta say, whenever you hopped on and said, "Hey, you guys care if I restream this?" I was thinking, you know what, I ought to do commentation with the Swans, and then I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna play." I wish I would have. Now I should have went with my gut.
Well, now you know for next time. Hey, especially if you're the one that's rolling the seed, right?
Yeah, especially if I'm rolling the seed.
So, anyways, thanks again, and we'll catch you on the next one.
And thank you for streaming all this, man. It takes a lot to do all that. I know that, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. This is fun for me. It's like riding a bike. It's just
exactly
getting back in the saddle.
All right. Again, thanks, man. We'll catch you later.
All right, sounds good. Bye-bye now. All right, so with that, Velvet is finally up to fight Final Kefka here. His sound is a little bit sketchy. Hopefully it evens out. Alright, here's Final Kefka. So we'll see how Velvet decides to tackle this. We know we have a Mega Elixir from Magi Master. Here comes first up with a Sword Tech from Shadow. Sabin pumping in the damage here. Edgar and Celeste gonna swing away. If we do more than 30,000 damage on this turn, which it doesn't look like we're gonna do, then Kefka will skip this Fallen one, but since we didn't, that's what we're gonna do, is queue up this Mega Elixir for our crew, and then we're gonna get right back at it. We're gonna do this until we find a counter, like a Hyperdrive or something like that, and then we know that he's under 30,000 HP, and we could wait for his Goner phase. So we have Goner, so he's under 30,000 HP. Now it's time to toss your shields. Let's get them. Get that ice shield off. And we'll see if he can do enough damage to Kefka here to finish the seed out. Boom! There it is. 2:10:40 is your official time there for Velvet. Get your GGs for finishing that one off here. We'll drag him in real fast as we see Kefka crumble out of the sky. GG's, Velvet. Way to punch through that at the end there. A little bit of a rough go with that Vanilla Goddess, huh?
Yeah, hindsight 2020, I would probably have said I probably should have made the decision earlier about like resetting, like complete reset. I mean, I wiped like 3 or 4 times. I didn't have anything really. I was like trying to think like, maybe if I swap the shields, and I didn't have it. So, I mean, I should have reset way earlier, and my time probably would have been about 15, 20 minutes like sooner, because I just plowed through Kefka. That wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, even without access to mute, and you just still did pretty good there. You were the only runner, I think, that did Kefka at Narsh, so you were the only one that had that X-Zone spell, which definitely helped, because other than that, we didn't have any instant death. So tell us a little bit about your opening to the seed here. You open up your menu, you see Celeste with Dance, and she has Landslide, and then you have Sabin with God-Awful Garbage, and then Sword Tech Shadow. So what was sort of your thought process starting off with this seed here?
My immediate thought process was, after I looked at like Dance's, Oh no, I thought the dance was gonna be okay, and then I went so I'm like, okay, you know what, Celis for now would be like a dedicated magic user since she's the goat. I mean, she had way more magic power than the other two.
Yep.
Then I was gonna use Sword Tech. I was gonna load him up with a physical, and then Sabin was gonna be my caster. And then I obviously like hindsight 2020, I was definitely looking to replace Sabin, but it just never occurred.
It just never happened, really.
Yeah, and then the transition happened when I found the Atma weapon. I'm like, okay, you know what? We're gonna have to start. And then the Ragnarok I think it was the Ragnarok I might have found first, but no, then everything just fell into place. I'm like, okay, Celis is not gonna be my magic user. It's gonna be, it's gonna be, definitely gonna be probably moved to Shadow, especially since when I looked at Shadow, he couldn't equip the Ragnarok, he couldn't equip Fixed Ice, he couldn't equip really much of anything that would have been like taking advantage of offense. So I just left him on basically on magic duty. And the only spells that we like really were significant were the ones we learned from the shields initially.
Yeah, not very good spells at all. We maybe had Pearl, and I know that Flurry was using Flare at one point towards the end of the seed, but yeah, not a lot of spells, not a lot of offense. So a bit of a struggle with just trying to get through fights here. And then of course at the end was, you went up to Kefket Narsh, which we hadn't seen by that point, so we didn't know if there was a character there or at Burning House or Magitech 3 maybe. So peeking there before going to Burning House I think was the right play to do for sure.
Yeah, and I think at that point I hadn't gotten I mean, I was still learning spells. I needed levels at that point too. So I was thinking about, okay, you know what? I forget it. I have to walk all the way back. I might as well just take the check really quick. And then I did a little bit more grind fights. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason I can imagine the reason why the times were so high, just like looking at from everyone else, is that we were all looking for the offering.
Oh yeah. Nobody. Unfortunately, nobody found it. We searched high and low. Monster in a boxes everywhere, but it was either in Daryl's tomb or in Umaro's cave, and we didn't get Setzer or Umaro this seed, so just rather unfortunate. Again, I think you also took 4 dragons looking for them too, right?
Yeah, I took 4 dragons looking for them, but that also wasn't it. I felt like, when I was ready, I wasn't gonna get skipped. So what I noticed from my last race is that. Mm-hmm. So you wonder why, I loaded up on X potion or X ethers. It's because the last race I did earlier today, the big mistake I made is I had absolutely no consumables. So this time around, I made sure, I got my Mega Elixir. I just happened to see Magi Master, so that kind of worked out.
Right.
And then I wanted to load up an X ethers because I know that Sabin and Shadow more than likely would run out of magic because I would need to put them on healing duty, especially since Setzer had the Atma weapon.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I was able, this was a lot easier than the other one. The other one was just frustrating, but I should probably, I'm happy that I ended up thinking about, okay, you know what, let's think outside the box. Let's just reset. And then we'll go from there at the end. So.
Yeah, knowing when to just pull the trigger and be like, there's nothing I could do to defeat this boss is a good skill to learn. And you certainly demonstrated it a lot there. There's a couple of good moments. I also thought some good heads up, vanilla game knowledge of using the slash sword tech one time I think you used on one of the undead enemies there, right?
Yeah.
And it was just unfortunate. The bosses in Kefka's Tower were just brutal. Guardian and Magi Master and Goddess just slowed everybody down pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with Magi Master or Guardian. The problem, I guess I eked out of Guardian because the other my other character was dead and then Celis was whacking him and I was like, dude, is this guy dead yet? But no, the one Magi Master wasn't bad because I had Sortek 6.
You had Sortek and Edgar using Grand Train and that was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, hindsight 2020. I mean, I don't feel like, I feel like Grand Train and Quasar, they're great lores, but you would need a lot of magic, not just magic power, but you also need a lot of MP to be able to sustain that. They're such high spells. It's it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, Grand Train is basically like a slightly weaker version of Ultima, so it makes sense why its cost is that high. But yeah, you do need that. And with Edgar's doesn't have a lot of MP as just a matter of his stats.
Did numbers say why he forfeited? I figured that
he was stuck on Magimaster. His party was just Celeste at Magimaster, so he was stuck with using Landslide Dance, and the Landslide Dance didn't landslide. So
yeah, I learned about that as soon as I was like, dude, Landslide's here. Okay, great. So and then basically it tapered. Taper missed all the time. It was useless. Like when I stopped using it, it was just like, dude, there's no way I can be able to carry with this, or even like fabricate any type of early game with it. But luckily, after finding the Ragnarok, it was like, okay, now we're talking. Now Celeste can do something useful.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna want to migrate away from dance at some point anyway to something that you can control and something you can target. So it sort of makes sense, right? So anything from this race that you'll carry forward with you to your other races? We're in week 6, so there's just a couple of more weeks left, and you are currently in 5th in your Tonic A division. So anything you're going to take from this seed maybe and use going forward in your next couple of runs here?
I would say that probably just do stuff maybe hindsight 2020 use the run command. One thing I will say is that I noticed that Brontar sneezed, Dragon sneezed.
Yep.
Early game I should have run from those rather than waste time. I wasted a good maybe 7 minutes alone early game on that.
Yeah.
Maybe also hindsight 2020 is the grind fight that I saw with the Behemoth and then the two early in Figaro basement.
Yeah.
I should have tried to look for those again, because that would have been fine, especially since Sabin died.
Yeah,
but,
using Sketch with Sabin on the Behemoth was a really good heads up play to have them cast Meteor. So that would have been huge for you, because you went all the way up to level 10 after one fight, right? So
yeah, I got first place this week, or last week, and we're getting restrained. Gretham set it up for Wednesday, so
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that my Kefka fight after this race kind of helped me a lot understand, and also, if I have to nope out, I have to nope out. It doesn't it's more time just to basically be stuck on something that makes no sense. I mean, yes, I did try to port some of my items over, but in the end, I probably read up a little bit more on elemental shields to make sure that I got the correct knowledge, and and obviously just be faster.
So one last thing for me, we were talking with JS because he is one of the mentors in the Moogle Cup. Surprise, shocker, you are one of my mentees for the Moogle Cup, and you just finished up your group phase here. You want to talk a little bit about the Moogle Cup event and what you're getting out of it, and what your feedback is, I guess, so far on it.
Well, you're my mentor. It's actually been really great. It's been helpful. I would say that when I came in, my initial reaction was, okay, you know what? All I needed to do is kind of work on this. And I believe when you go into it, you should have more of an open mind. Mm-hmm. All I want to do is basically work on menus, and I think that was basically it. But the good news is that I had a great mentor that was able to teach me the foundations of the game. It's not like little tricks in and outs. It's more along lines like massive amounts of foundations. So like different character builds. It taught me a lot about, boss fights. Final Kefka has been a major focal point. So being able to manage Kefka has been, people have lost seeds because of that, or lost races. So
it's the biggest time loss in most seeds is, if you wipe in Kefka, you lost like 8 to 9 minutes right then and there.
Yeah, and I would also say that my VOD review system got a lot better. Now that I review VODs as strictly, I kind of take it from a more objective rather than a subjective standpoint. And I also don't just mindlessly grind anymore. I really think about during my run, and having that inner voice kind of helps me, helps me run through my seed. So I would also say that everyone should sign up. If you have a chance, it really is an awesome experience. Like I said, it has taught me a lot. I'm actually signed up for the next season. I'm really excited. My races throughout the Moogle Cup have been great. Schwantz, the way he works, it's very much a question. It's always asking questions. It's never like, go do this or go do that. It's very much like you are your own pilot. You are all like, you're not getting an example question would be like, okay, you have this check, this check, this check, and this check. Where are you going? And generally, I wouldn't in the beginning, I would never think about where. Like, it would just be kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna go here, go here, go here. But
right,
Schwantz helps me think about, as with the game knowledge, has really helped me build where it makes sense to go a little bit better.
Well,
So,
I'm glad that you're having a good time, and I've seen just the improvement in your game from when we started, when I did your first VOD reviews up until now. A lot of things that you wanted to work on, I think we're working on, and obviously everybody always wants to work on similar things, and it's a constant, let's get better, but if you learn a lot of the core things, and if you start doing a lot of the little things right, things will sort of fall into place. So I'm glad that you've embraced that mind state anyway, and doing your own reviews of your own VODs and reviewing other people's races as they're doing them is also a good skill to learn. So I'm glad that you're getting that out of it as well.
Yeah, I guess really the only final thought is going into the Moogle Cup and thinking about what your goals are. Do not think, I would go into it not thinking about what time you're going and not even think about winning. All you're should be doing is thinking about how you can improve, and how you have great mentors, and that you should be asking them as many questions as you can. And of course, there's the FF6 Worlds Collide wiki that has tons of information. But yeah, you should go in with that type of mindset, the learning mindset, not like, I watch X stream, dude, I already got that down. You may think you do, but most of us really don't. So it's just good to go in with an open mindset and to learn. And obviously, at the end of the day, you get all the information. What you do with the information is up to you. I chose to, I continue to play seeds every day to just keep up on my knowledge and to see different situations and how I progress around them. Every Moogle should be doing that. So hopefully that gives everyone a little tip. It's not daunting. It's a lot of information, but you do learn a lot. And honestly, it helps. You may not think about it, but the only way most people think about it is time, but it's not time. It's not winning. It's playing, and you will progressively get better.
Yeah, well said. Any other final thoughts before we let you go here?
No, that's it, man. Thanks again for streaming. Thanks to all the racers. Thanks for sticking around, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for all. I know that obviously you're doing like quadruple duty, having to sit there with everything. So, but thanks to all the restreamers, thanks to all the trackers and stuff, for the community, and thanks again for the community for accepting me.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for volunteering to be on Restream. Can't have the races without the runners, and it was exciting to watch. Trust me, this is a much better race to watch than it probably was to play. But I appreciate you coming out and racing it anyway. So it should be a lot of fun to watch this one back, and good luck the rest of the season with Ultros League and with the bracket section of the Moogle Cup tournament coming up as well.
Yep. Thanks again, man.
All right, catch you later. So that's going to do it for us here at Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. Thank you so much for hanging around with us. This really crazy, insane seed that we had today required burning house as far as I could tell, folks. Anyway, again, if you are not subscribed on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You'll get notified whenever we upload videos. And ultrasleague.com is the website for our Ultros League season, as well as ff6worldscollide.com is the website where you can roll your own seeds and click on the link to the Discord to get involved in the community. That, I think, is going to do it for us, folks, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out now.